Hey everybody, it's Steamboat. Welcome to the latest edition of Gearbox Review. Got my stuff set up all over this park, so I think I'm going to take the time to just do a little post-Colorado Trail gear review. Yeah, so if you're interested in anything specifically, you can check the description down below. I've got everything kind of time-stamped and just going to list it by the things that I'm going to be going through. So I'm going to start with the big three. So the big three, you know, I did use 2 packs when I was on the Colorado Trail. The first pack that I started out with was the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 3400. This is the new one. I had to order a new one. The other one that I'd had for a number of years. There was a little bit of separation that was starting to occur kind of on the shoulder strap. I was kind of concerned that it wasn't going to make it. And so I did have my friend go ahead and bring up this ULA OM 2.0 that I've also used for a while. If you go down in the description also, you can see my lighter pack, and I've got everything listed out with the weights. I'd never really done that until after I got off the Colorado Trail and just kind of realized that my base weight is right around like 15 pounds. So with the OM, it does kind of recommend, ULA recommends that you have a base weight of less than 12 pounds. I didn't think that was like that big of a deal, but once I kind of realized that I was carrying a heavier base weight, then it kind of explained why I had some, I don't know, kind of soreness and why it wasn't as comfortable. But if you get your base weight down right around that 12 pounds or less, this is a really great pack. I like both the packs. If you're interested, you can check out this card, do a comparison of both the packs. So be sure to check that one out. Next thing is the tent that I was using. I was using a Big Agnes Fly Creek HV UL2. I've also got a video for that where I kind of like go walk around in the Lost Creek Wilderness in Colorado and then set that thing up. I don't recommend this tent. I don't recommend this tent to anybody. It was a tent that I bought out of necessity when I was on the Appalachian Trail, and that was in 2018. So I've just been using it ever since. It's a 2-person tent. If you're going to be doing a longer hike, I would kind of recommend that maybe you invest in getting a larger tent for yourself, just so that you have a place where you can store your gear, especially if it's wet. So one thing that I found that it's really beneficial to have that extra room is if you're trying to get out of the rain, you have a lot of extra wet clothing, you have the things that are kind of set aside, and just having that additional space I found is really beneficial. But like I said, I don't recommend this tent to anybody. It's really expensive, and what I found over time is the fabric on the bathtub it's not a sil nylon, it just has like a DWR coating, and with DWR coating, that's going to rub off eventually, and it's going to start to soak in some of that moisture, which I found to be the case, and it's absolutely infuriating. If you're looking to get an ultralight tent for a more affordable price than what Big Agnes has to offer, I'd recommend looking into tarp tent, particularly the Rainbow. That's probably the thing that it's a similar design with the dome structure. That's probably what I'm going to invest in once I've got once I make a decision to reinvest in a tent. So that's what I'm going to do. It does come with a number of stakes. I carry 11 stakes just to various things as I've had to either replace or I found them on the trail. When you're trying to drive in stakes into this kind of like a rocky soil, sometimes when you're hitting with a hammer, like the tops will break off. So I've just got 11 various stakes. Here's what I've got my sleep system kind of set out on. I do also have the Big Agnes footprint. I bought this thinking that this was going to help kind of mitigate some of that moisture absorption from the soil that was coming up through the bottom. It did help a little bit, but what happens is the bathtub floor kind of spills over on the side, and that can also start to absorb some of the moisture. So I'll probably hang on to this footprint. It makes a really good ground cloth. Maybe I can pair this with my tarp and be able to do, or just use this out as a ground cloth for cowboy camping or something like that. But again, like the whole system, once you like add the Big Agnes tent plus the footprint and everything else that they recommend that you buy with it, it's going to cost you over $400. It's not worth the investment. The sleep system that I use, I didn't start the trail with this. This is just a Sea to Summit sleeping liner. I like to pair the sleeping liner with my Enlightened Equipment quilt. I find that it works really well when I just pair the two together. I had my buddy bring this up when I reached Breckenridge, because there was a particularly cold night when I was in the Lost Creek Wilderness, and I thought that, I didn't think I was going to need this initially, but I've been using this kind of sleep system, just pairing these two things together for a long time, and it's just what I sleep in most comfortably, and just adds a little bit of extra warmth and kind of has that nice like sheet feeling to it. Gives you more of like a bed-like quality. I use the Enlightened Equipment quilt. If I had to do it again, I would buy a different sleeping bag. I'd probably get just a regular sleeping bag. If I had the money and was going to reinvest in something, I'd probably get a Western Mountaineering bag or maybe a Feathered Friends bag. This thing works good if you're on a budget. It's a really good quilt for what it is. I've slept down in some pretty cold temperatures in the snow and everything else like this. With these two things paired together with a really like nice sleeping pad, I'm able to sleep pretty comfortably. So when it comes time for me to reinvest in a sleeping bag, I probably won't get another Enlightened Equipment. Like I said, I've had my eye on Western mountaineering products for a long time, so once I got the money saved up, that's probably what I'm going to decide to do. So for the remainder of the sleep system, I do use this pillow, Sea to Summit pillow. I've tried a lot of different kind of things. You know, I've tried to use my clothing bag as a pillow, and that's never really been that comfortable because it compresses. I've used other different branded pillows and things. This is my third ultralight pillow from Sea to Summit, and I really just like the way that it packs down, the way that it performs. It's really comfortable. It doesn't compress, and I've never really had an issue with it popping or anything else like that. Just over time, sometimes the internal components will start to leak a little bit, and that's usually where it fails. Just material, kind of like the material failure of the product that's caused me to replace it. So continuing on with Sea to Summit, this isn't sponsored by Sea to Summit, I just really like their sleeping products. It's an ultralight insulated. I originally bought this before I did like a bicycle tour, and I've really been impressed with the way that it's performed. It's light, it's compact, the way that it packs down. There's a inflation system that makes it really easy to inflate this sort of thing. It seems like it's a little bit thin, and especially when you're sitting on it, you're gonna bottom out. You're gonna end up like touching the ground when you're sitting, but once you lay flat and you have your weight evenly distributed across the entire pad, you're not gonna bottom out. At least that's what I found. I'm about 6 feet. This is just a regular size, 72 inches. And this, in addition to the pillow, adds enough like coverage for me over the ground to provide a nice sleeping surface. So I'd highly recommend that also. So that's everything for the big three of the tent, my bags, my sleep system, and all that. Next is going to be my clothes. Usually I have just a stuff sack like this blue one right here that I normally keep all my clothes. I carry bandanas because I like them. Got this little thing, it's just kind of a mid-layer, insulating mid-layer. It's a icebreakers, it's kind of falling apart. I can't find a replacement for this yet, so I'm still looking. If you got any recommendations, let me know. Just got a beanie. I carry 3 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of hiking socks, and then I've got like this old pair of like 0.6 PCT branded socks that I also just use for sleeping. It's nice to have a clean pair of socks just for sleeping purposes. Got a long sleeve insulating layer. This is my hiking shirt. It's just an REI kind of button up synthetic shirt that I like to wear. It's been chewed up, it stinks. A lot of people are trying to convince me to get rid of it, but I haven't made a decision just yet. I also carry a buff just around for some sun protection. It's also nice for in the cold, you know, kind of have like a scarf-like thing going on. And then lastly is just my hiking shorts. This is just like Columbia shorts. I don't usually like to wear kind of like running shorts or anything like that. I tend to get a lot of chafing, so I'll pair this with a pair of ex officio boxers. So 1 pair of boxers, this pair of shorts, plus the hiking shirt is what I usually walk in. If it's a little cold, then I'll kind of throw this on the mid layer that I have. And usually in the evenings is when I'll wear this synthetic long sleeve shirt just for some extra insulation. I didn't bring it out here, but I also just wear a pair of like long Patagonia Capilines. The mid-weights is usually what I find to be pretty good for various 3-season conditions. So that's all the clothes that I've got. So that's not all the clothes that I had. I kind of misspoke because I put my foul weather and cold weather gear in a different pile. So what I started with was this North Face Thermoball. Just over time, it's kind of lost a lot of its insulating properties. So it's okay if it's like just kind of maybe like late spring, maybe summertime temperatures if you're in the mountains, but not like up at altitude. So like I said, that first kind of night that I was in the Lost Creek and experienced some cold weather, I realized that this probably wasn't going to cut it. So I also had my buddy bring up and swap this out with my Patagonia just down, I don't know what it's called. It's not that ultralight one, it's just a regular one, but it's down-filled, it's got a hood, and this was really good for those colder temperatures at altitude and at nighttime. So I'm really happy with that. What I also wore at nighttime, which I wasn't expecting, was these Frog Tog rain pants. With the Frog Togs, like if they're really delicate, if you look at them for too long, they start to disintegrate, and that was the same case with this. But what I typically wore this with was I'd wear my Patagonia Capiline, my long johns, plus this on top for the bug protection. I didn't usually take the time to put this on for rain ever, but in the evenings when just having that loose fitting clothing for that bug mitigation, because I didn't bring a head net and I didn't even have any bug spray. But just using clothing usually works pretty good if the bugs aren't too bad. And there's only a couple of sections in Colorado where they were kind of bad, so I'm really happy with these. They're kind of falling apart, so might have to get a new rain suit. Or just kind of push the limit with these. We'll see what happens. Also for the rain, this isn't the one I had because the one that I had broke. So this is a replacement. Outdoor Research was cool enough to be able to replace this for me. And this is just a Foray jacket, it's Gore-Tex. It's not the lightest rain jacket, but it's what I have and it's what I like, and it's always performed really well for me. So outdoor research, recommend this as well. Also for the rain is I like to use rain mitts. And these are just some REI branded rain mitts that I have. So when I have that really cold rain that's kind of falling on me, just to, you know, maintain some of that dexterity like in my hands, and also so like I don't feel like I'm suffering, you know, then I just like to throw these on sometimes, yeah, just to help with that. It's also really good in the snow if you pair them with a pair of gloves. So the gloves that I like to use are these Army Surplus, just like wool gloves. You can get them at an Army Surplus, you can get them online and stuff. Of all the gloves that I've ever used over the years, I think these ones always perform the best. And especially if you pair this with a shell like this, then I've been able to use these in some pretty cold conditions. When my buddy dropped off the things, I did decided that I wasn't going to need these. I did keep the rain mitts, but I did send these home. And then also for rain, it's just I do have a pack cover. So with the Hyperlight, you know, it is kind of waterproof in itself. And then I also put a compactor bag like inside of things, but I just decided to bring this pack cover with me along just, you know, because. But then once I swapped out the ULA, then this is just a ULA pack cover that I'm really happy with. It just like usually fits over, you know, large capacity backpacks pretty well and provides enough coverage to keep most of the things dry. It's not a waterproofing, so keep that in mind. And then lastly, my favorite piece of gear is the umbrella. I use this like almost on a daily basis when I was in Colorado. It's one of my favorite pieces of gear. You can check out this video when I'm talking about it for probably way too long. So I'll spare you with that right now. All right, next up is my kitchen and my water purification. What I was using for food storage was an Ursack XL. It was the first trip that I had used this Ursack, and I was pretty happy with it. You can see videos online about how to tie this thing, how to attach it, and all the rest of it. It's up to you about how you want to keep food. You know, be mindful of bears and mini bears and like all the rest of that. That's all I'm going to say about that. So what I started the trip out with was just a Sawyer Mini. Most of the water supply in Colorado is very clear, and one thing that I really don't like is just sitting there like squeezing through a membrane. So I decided to swap this out with my SteriPen. Just a USB rechargeable ultraviolet light. If it's clear water, then this works really well. If there's a lot of sediment or if it's murky, then it's not going to work very well. But just judging by the initial water sources, I thought that this was probably going to be the way to go. And I'm really happy with the way that it performed. Even when I was in Sargent's Mesa, where it was just like, you know, going through cattle country, I didn't really have a problem. The water tasted gross. You can mask the taste with like some drink mixes and things like that, but really happy with the way this performed. If you're interested in this, I would recommend it. What I also use for water is I normally have a capacity between 3 and 4 liters. What I do is just use these Platypus collapsible bottles. So if I'm not using them for longer water carries or doing a dry camp or something like that, then they just fold up really nicely and they pack away pretty well. I like to carry 2 of these. And then in addition, it's somewhere over there, but I also carry an Nalgene. I like to have like a wider mouth bottle just for drink mixes, to be able to shake those up for hot liquids and things like that. And then also to supplement, you can just get like an old soda bottle or a juice bottle or things like that, so you can take it with you to supplement. Usually carry just like an extra, stuff sack, either for trash or for additional food to separate different things. So this is usually part of my kitchen also. I like a long-handled spork. The long handle's pretty good, especially if you're eating like freezer bag meals, which I never do, or if you like have those like mountain houses or something with like the deep pockets. If you have something that's shorter, sometimes you got to get your hand in there. So I just prefer to have like a longer handled spoon so I can be able to get inside of those bags and things. This is just like a little bottle that I like just cut the top off of. So I also wasn't sure how the water sources were going to be, but if you have something like this, some people I guess like can use like a Ziploc bag, but this is just a water scoop. So if you have like a really shallow water source, you can just be able to scoop this out and then pour that into whatever it is that you're filtering through. And so that's just, if you want to. I have like a titanium ultralight little 0.9 liter pot. I like to keep it in the stuff sack just to keep everything together. Little handmade koozie from just some like insulating foam with some aluminum tape like over the top of it. So just a little pot. I have like a little half of a handkerchief in here. It's my cleaning rag. I've also just got a lighter and a can opener. It's nice to have like a little just like can opener just in case like you run into a can that doesn't have a pop top. I like to carry it. And then I've been using just an MSR pocket rocket. This is the old generation one. Just has a regulator valve with the stovetop, and then you light it up and it works pretty well. And then of course, like you're gonna need to supplement that with some isobutane fuel. Whatever you can find usually works pretty well. And the last thing that I have like in my food bag is just some extra cordage. So the cordage could be for if you're going to tie a bear bag. I also like to have just extra cordage in case I got to guy anything out, in case any of those straps kind of break. If I got to make any field repairs and things, just knowing that I got some extra cordage, you know, just has some peace of mind for me. So that's the cook kit. Now the last couple of things I'll go over is just hygiene and my electronics in it. So for the hygiene, I just carry everything in this little orange bag. I've got a snow stake. This is what I use for my trowel to be able to dig cat holes. It works pretty well. It's a lot cheaper than, you know, those little like deuce of spades or whatever you call them. So inside of my little hygiene bag, I just carry like a small thing of sunscreen, some hand sanitizer, just some like wet wipes, you know, just for some extra, I guess, hygiene, and also to like just remove some sweat, particularly if I start chafing. This can be really good to help like just clean those spots like on your body that are starting to chafe. And then just some toilet paper. It's pretty standard. And then in addition to the hygiene bag, I also have this yellow bag where I keep most of my first aid kit. So this is my first aid kit. It's got some tape, some bandages, some latex gloves in case I have to encounter like other bodily fluids or blood or anything like that, just to help keep those off me. Some burn gel, some ibuprofen, just other things along those lines. Just another roll of tape to treat those hot spots. This can be really good. I also carry this little comb, not only to comb my hair and like stay fresh looking, but if you ever get something that's embedded, you know, just hiking in the Arizona particularly, if you get cacti that's stuck in you, you know, it's just like, it's going to be hard to remove those sometimes. And a comb, so not only good for, you know, keeping the tangles out of your hair, but then also removing cacti. That's not specific to the Colorado Trail, but, you know, whatever. And then lastly, just in another little bag, I have some toenail clippers just to trim the nails, just to eliminate any of that discomfort that you might have like on your feet, and a couple of safety pins for blister mitigation. I'm a popper. I don't care what you think. And then also in this bag, just because I like to keep this like accessible and ready to hand in case I ever need it, then I also just carry this small thing of Body Glide just to help mitigate some of that chafing. Little spot PLB, you know, just depending on whatever you decide to carry, if you want to carry something like this. And then also my headlamp, so this thing's always accessible. I do like to night hike and hike late into the evenings, so just knowing that I can always grab this, it's just nice so I don't have to like go digging through the rest of my things. And so with my electronics, I just carry everything in this little bag. I've got just various cords for just charging up the different things that I have, and it all powered off of this Anchor. It's a 10,000 milliamp. This thing's pretty good if you're just charging up a smartphone and other small devices. And I don't have it in this bag, but make sure like if you're going to be charging that you have some sort of adapter that's going to convert it into USB, so that when you get into a power plug that you can plug all your things in. So that's what I'd recommend. And the two things that I didn't cover is I do carry sticks. These are just Black Diamond sticks. These things to be pretty durable. This is the second pair that I've had to own. The other ones, I fell off a mountain and cracked one of the segments, and then they kind of locked up in this quick lock device due to corrosion. So these are our replacements, but I'm really happy with the way that Black Diamond kind of perform. But you know, if you decide to carry sticks, you know, that's on you. And then the last thing is just what I've been sitting on while I've been out here in the grass is just like this old Z light that I kind of cut into a square. I just kind of use this as a sit pad. This is also nice, especially when I'm carrying the ohm, because it's a drawstring, and then just being able to have like a cover right on top of that drawstring. So that's pretty good for me. So that's it, pretty simple kit, everything that I carried with me on the Colorado Trail. That's also just basically my 3-season kind of backpacking setup anyway. It's been a couple of years and I've been able to sort of like fine tune and dial everything in, so I found everything that I kind of liked. Was really beneficial. So like I said, if you check the description out, you can check out my lighter pack. It's got all these items that are listed on there with the weights. It was really beneficial to kind of put everything that was in there. It was the first time that I'd done that. I'd kind of like snubbed my nose a little bit about the gram counting, but once I like kind of put everything on a digital scale and saw exactly like the weight that I was carrying, it actually started to make a lot of sense. And it kind of helped me sort of like kind of look through that information and see where I could make some other investments if I wanted to kind of lighten my pack. So that's a really good tool, so be sure to check that out. If there's any other piece of gear that I've gone over, I know that this was kind of quick, that you'd like me to go into a little more deeply, I do have quite a few different options with things that are in my gearbox, so I could always do additional comparisons between different pieces of gear if you're interested. So leave a comment if there's anything that you'd like me to talk about a little bit more. So I do appreciate it. Happy hiking out there. Peace out.